Well, hello, and thank you for coming to my presentation on a peek inside the UX and UI Designer's Toolbox. I am Erin Daniels, and I recently joined Apollo Matrix as their Chief Experience Officer. Apollo Matrix is a full-service agency creating web and mobile applications. Our mobile applications are natively built for iOS, Android, Windows 7, and Windows 8. My background is in product design and marketing. I've helped a number of companies, startups, and specifically in the e-learning field for a number of different types of engagements, spanning consumer, publishing, federal government, and startups like Dub, for example. I designed Dub's first entry into the marketplace. That was a lot of fun. So enough about me. We'll talk about the design tools, and just want to get a sense of, who here in the audience does design, UX and UI design on a regular basis. So a good amount, okay? That's great. And how many of us are new to UX and UI design? Okay, great. Well, that's wonderful. Here I'm just going to go through a very high-level view of different types of tools that are out there and what you use them for, what types of functions you use them for. I have grouped them into their functions, the first one being wireframing. And this is wireframing. You are designing wireframes or mock-ups to plan the structure and how the user will interact with the product. Prototyping is where you string your comps together, creating hotspots, basically to show how the product will work. Just like a screen flow, essentially. The user feels like they're interacting with it because you're tapping a button. It opens up a screen, a comp that you had already put together. And then designing tools. Now, designing tools are going to help you create those pixel-perfect visual design comps. And this visual design really sets the stage for the emotional response of the user. So all of the UX design is really focusing on the functional aspects of the user, the usability, how intuitive it is when they're using the product. Okay, so wireframing, just overall, wireframing is typically done by a UX architect or information architect or a UX designer. They are typically black and white, low fidelity mock-ups. These aren't your beautiful visual designs yet. They're similar to blueprints that an architect creates when they're planning to build a home. And annotations are typically included in wireframes, and these are notes or call-outs that give stakeholders, the designers and developers, a clear understanding of what that functionality would be. This really helps planning stages. It also helps with when you're communicating with the client how the product will interact. So here are some wireframing tools that we've been using forever, and these are the early on, before wireframing tools had started coming about. Adobe Illustrator, Adobe InDesign. These are just tools that lend themselves well to wireframing. They definitely are lacking in the full-on prototyping type features of the newer kind of tools that are out there. But it is just one of these standby. You have your classically trained designers in Adobe software, and sometimes they're just very comfortable working in Illustrator and InDesign to come up with wireframes. Also Visio. Some people prefer Visio. So these are just some of these sort of industry standards that have been around forever. But there are a lot of newer ones out there, and I'm going to go over those just very, very high level. OmniGraffle, this has actually also been around for a while. This is for Mac and iPad. Users seem to love it. It's great for Mac shops. So if you have any PCs, in the shops, you might not, choose this one. The pricing is, pretty decent. It's not terribly cheap, but it's not one of the most expensive ones. Azure, this is for PC and Mac. This also has been around for a little while. Users love it. It works for web and mobile sites. Great wireframing tool. And the one thing is it may have a little bit of a learning curve, but once you get in it and work in it, it's great. Pricing is a little bit more than OmniGraffle, and good students and classrooms can get it for free. So I think they do some sort of check whether you're a good student or a bad student somehow on their site. Not quite sure how that works, but worth a shot, right? Now, balsamic mockups. I love this tool. It's for PC, Mac, Linux. It's cross-platform. It's very easy to use. One thing that I really like about it is just how focused it is for mobile wireframing, because it has a very extensive mobile component library. It does have a sketchy look and feel, like literally hand-drawn type look and feel, and that it's very much showing the fact that you're sketching this idea, and it resonates, that idea that you are creating something. I mean, it could be like a drawing on a napkin or something. It's that sort of first concept, that idea that it's really picking up on, and it's fun. So, and it also helps people get the impression that this is the time to change. If you have any changes, let's make the changes now, and that certainly works for your workflow. And sort of as you get down the line, you want to make sure that you are pretty solid on your wireframes before you move on to the other tasks in the project, like the visual design. But sometimes some people feel like this sketchy look and feel is a little too sketchy for some CEOs. So, use your judgment. Your customer, and see what they would like. One great thing about Balsamic is, well, although they are coming up with their iPad app, in the meantime, there is a workaround, but you still can start your sketching process beforehand, which is great if you're doing some ideation sessions with your client, sort of initially get some quick concepts down, and you can actually export from a lot of different iPad sketching apps. You can export a BMML file and bring that into Balsamic and sort of complete your wireframes there. Balsamic also has the ability to enhance with plugins for Google Drive, Confluence, or Jira, FogBuzz, and XWiki. The pricing is really pretty affordable. For a single user, it's like $79. You get a 30-day trial. It's great. Now, there are some cloud-based wireframing tools, and these are excellent for when you have collaboration. So say you have a team of designers or just a team of different stakeholders, and they need to sort of edit what these wireframes are. It's great to have a cloud-based tool where people are actually interacting with the wireframes via the web. You don't have to worry as much about version control and that sort of thing. My Balsamic has a cloud subscription, There are 5 plan levels starting from $12 a month to $249 a month for enterprise. There are some others, Mockingbird, that one is powered by Cappuccino, so no flash is needed there. Also Mockup Builder, and one note that Smashing Magazine, who had done this review for these, there's the URL at the bottom, they did a wonderful review of all of these cloud-based tools. They mentioned that Mockup Builder was the only cloud-based solution with a native Android controls. So just something to consider when you're deciding which tools to use. Knowing which platforms you're going to be designing for might impact which tools you decide to use. iPad sketching and wireframing tools. This is great. I mean, there are tons and tons of these out there. I just put up a few. I'm not, saying one is better than the other. It's just here are some of the tools that came up that people seem to like. I'm definitely interested to learn if you guys come up with other tools that you like.
Do you
Yes?
have a favorite among these?
I don't have a personal favorite. I know some folks in my team do use the paper by 53 and bamboo paper, although I haven't really gone in and tried them all to really see for myself. But
That's a general electronic.
right. So what it is just starting off with ideas. I mean, this is really your concepting, very, very early stage brainstorming kind of thing where you're sitting there with the client and you're like, oh, so you're talking about something kind of like this, and you just sort of draw it up there on your iPad. And some of these, if they do, some of these export to BMML and you can bring it into Balsamiq or potentially some other programs as well. Now prototyping, this is also done by the UX architect or UX designer. This is where you are creating hotspots to demonstrate certain interactions in screen flow. So basically you assign a hotspot and you assign what screen will open when you click a certain or tap a certain hotspot. It's great for usability testing early on if you want to test a UI paradigm before you really get into the heavy visual design and development phase. It's a great idea to try and introduce that into your workflow. Here are a few different prototyping tools, and again, I am not in favor of one versus the other. It's just these are some tools. I'm definitely interested to hearing about the tools that you like to use. This is Flare Builder. This is for Windows and Mac. Prototyping, it also has wireframing as well. You can switch between low fidelity and high fidelity. The pricing is pretty good, $99 for a user, and then there's volume discounts for multiple. Fluid is a browser-based Mac, Windows, and Linux. It's made for mobile. This is awesome if you are really focusing on mobile, because this has extensive iOS, Android, and Windows 8 wireframe UI libraries. The web app is built in HTML5. Your pricing, this is a subscription one that's based on how many projects you're doing, so it really depends on how many projects your group is doing to determine the price. Proto, this is another one. This is like very, very affordable, so take that with usually you get what you pay for, I would imagine. So it is made for mobile and any other devices. Definitely very affordable, web-based. I mean, it's affordable because it's free to about like $49 a month. Here's some cloud-based prototyping tools. There's Envision, Field Test, Click Dummy. These are all reviewed on Smashing Magazine, and that's the URL at the bottom. I will post these slides on SlideShare so you can get the URLs later if you wish. Designing, we have the designing tools are done, the designing phase is done by your UI designer or visual designer. Now these are the pixel perfect designs. This is, you're establishing the visual treatment, the color, the use of lighting, the design techniques, and this really influences the emotional response of the user. So hopefully by now you've, after prototyping and after wireframing, you have covered all of the usability and functionality sort of goals of your project. And here's the designing phase. So it is definitely best done, once your UX and is pretty solid. Photoshop is just, this is the industry standard in visual design, in creating images and manipulating photos. The pricing is excellent now with Creative Cloud subscription at $49 a month. When I look back over the years of how much money I have given Adobe and Macromedia, and now you get it all in one subscription, it's pretty amazing, and I'm truly excited about that. And Photoshop is just, it's just an awesome tool. It's just, the one really to use for visual design. I will go over some other tools that help with the visual design as well for different types of aspects. Adobe Illustrator. Now Adobe Illustrator is great for creating vector graphics. So your illustrations, your custom icons, your logos, anything that's really in the vector type format. Icons are specifically when you're doing app design and you want to create some custom icons. Illustrator is a great tool to use. I know Photoshop had introduced some of the vector tools. It isn't the same quality of control that you get when you use Illustrator, but they work very well together. You can bring in your Illustrator icons and things into your Photoshop file and create a gorgeous visual design using both tools. I typically have both of them open, and I'm working with both of them at the same time for different things and just building it in all together. Now Illustrator is also included with the Creative Cloud subscription at $49 a month. Now this is not an application, but this is a tool that is very well worth mentioning. Tihan and Lax, these guys have a great website and blog. I would recommend you visit whenever you have a chance. They post a compilation of pixel perfect iOS GUI elements. They also have iPad, Android GUI, and also sketch elements. I absolutely love these guys for the time that they have saved me in my designs. So it's truly amazing to have such a well put together compilation of GUI elements to integrate into your designs. They're free to download as long as you're not reselling it. You're just using them in visual comps, you can use them. So they're awesome. Check them out at tihanlax.com and download at /downloads. Now, how do you decide which tools to use? Well, there are a number of things, and there's not just like one answer. Okay, so you need to just consider a lot of different factors. How do I choose? Well, the first place to start is, well, what are people using now? Do they like it? Are your designers happy using them? Are they used to it? Are they, or do they have issues? If they are having issues, what are those issues? And then you can help figure out, well, how can I solve those issues? Another question is the amount of collaboration. Since there are a number of tools that are available for cloud-based cloud-based wireframing and prototyping, it would be really great to understand just the level of collaboration that you anticipate in the project. And if you do anticipate a lot of collaboration, then you might want to try some of these cloud-based tools. And budget, of course, you know, you gotta throw in the budget, you know, how much you have available to spend on your tools, because there are a very, very wide, you know, variety of you know, pricing for these tools. And my thought is you get what you pay for, so just keeping that in mind as well. How much work do you anticipate? Now, this is sort of along the lines of your pricing. Some of the tools, especially the cloud-based tools, seem to have some sort of, you know, how many projects can you use with a certain tool. So that might weigh into which tool you decide. But the most important question to ask is, what are your designers comfortable with? Because, I mean, there are so many tools out there that it really isn't the tool that's going to determine what great design is. It's really the talent and the skill of the designer that will determine the success of the design. And it really is, you know, how do they use these tools? And that really is the key, you know, and keeping them happy too. So you don't want to force a tool on a designer who is really good at using a certain tool, unless there's a really good reason to change them and what they're doing. I just recommend really, really talking with the designer to see. So, thank you. I would love to learn what tools you like. There's so many tools that I'm sure there are tons that I have not covered here, because it would take forever to get through all of them. But if you have a favorite tool, tweet them to me, you know, at my handle, Erin Artworks, and Apollo Matrix with your hashtag ModevEast. That would be awesome. I really look forward to hearing from you guys what tools you like, what your favorites are. And thank you. I'll be available for questions.